JB here, JB here. Hope everyone is doing outstanding. November 4th, 3:30 on this a fine Monday. Really quick rant here. Don't have too much new to talk about. So talk really quick about the markets, some names I'm looking at, etc. But take a look at a SPY all the way down to broke 568 for a flash, right? That was the big area I was talking about for possible support, and I would look to get put hedges. And sure enough, right at the noon hour, 567.89, and we bounced. And it was a quick bounce from 12 to 1 o'clock. The SPY went from 567.89 all the way up to 571. So just some chop. I mean, there's just a lot of things I guess they're getting worked through with obviously the election. And you know what? I keep saying the Fed meeting is and press conference can be, well, the Fed meeting typically is 2 days, right? So typically it's Tuesday, and then Wednesdays when it ends, you have the statement comes out 2 o'clock, press conference by Fed Chair Powell. This time around, I don't know if they did it because the election, it's actually starts on Wednesday, and then the Fed meeting ends on Thursday. Fed statement Thursday at 2 o'clock with the Fed Chair Powell press conference at 2:30. So apologize for the days getting screwed up there, but I mean, talking about it this morning with the election, just some uncertainty here, I think, is some of the reason why. And yields are actually down today, first time quite some time they're in the red. But we still have this it's almost like some chop here, and it's almost waiting for resolution. And we gotta hope the election is settled when we wake up Wednesday morning, right? We don't want to, I don't think it'd be good for the market if it's hanging. We have a George Bush, Al Gore situation in Florida, right? Where that last, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's any of that stuff is just, it's uncertainty is not good for markets, right? And some markets, what if there's a sweep on either side? What does that do? And I think markets like to see, uh, not one party control all three houses, right? All three branches. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But want to see that get through, and then Fed Chair Powell, if he's able to ease concerns a little bit, maybe a little more dovish than normal. We had that jobs report on Friday, was kind of like a doozy, right? I mean, pretty shocking to see the miss in the jobs report, and then the backward revisions. So, and then you have economic data today. Some of it's starting to point to maybe there's a slowdown. So I think it will give ammo. You just 0.25% rate cut. Fed Chair Powell can kind of set the tone for at least rates to start to come down, and maybe the markets could find some support. So that's the overall market. 560 on the SPY, 575 resistance if we start to rally. Maybe tomorrow we're sitting here right here at 570. So I wouldn't be surprised if we closed right at 570. We've got 29 minutes to close. All right, that's that. And then always try and find some silver linings, and one of them is the small caps. And actually, I don't know why I haven't pulled up my um, my 50-day moving average names on the S&P. But small caps were up over 1% at times, 221.74 on the IWM earlier today before pulling back, but still up almost 0.75%, even with the S&P slightly in the red. So that's a good sign. And also the biotech sector, some of the names are really doing well here. Oh, wow. You know what? I haven't pulled this up in a couple days. The amount of stocks on the S&P over their 50-day moving average is right now at 49%, right? So less than half the stocks on the S&P are trading over their 50-day moving average. I'll see if I can post that on there. Uh, um, so yes, definitely another thing to watch along with the VIX and yields. All right, so that's overall market. Some individual names. So Dell spiked out of the gate. Well, actually, it was higher in the pre-market on reports that Nvidia was going to kind of reposition it to different suppliers with the super micro fiasco. And it's not like it affects their products, but then you got to start thinking like accounting, creditors, things like finance, all that stuff. It just eventually, the longer it goes, the worse the situation becomes. And so I have to think it bodes well for somebody, whether it's be HPQ, Dell. So it spiked all the way. It was 135 in the pre-market. Then at the open was down 132, 133. So I locked more in, some more of my calls in for 100%, and I just held the rest. I want to see how the market reacts. I'm not in a hurry to try and grab some stuff, so I'll continue to hold what I have. The November 15th 145s, and I'll be patient. You start looking at the chart, and I'm like 140, 145 looks pretty reasonable as the next possible target. So maybe a little consolidation tomorrow, and then the next leg, and maybe you can go on one of those tears that Dell has done this year, where it's starts at 130, and next thing you look 2 days later it's 150, 155. So with SM Supermicro being some of that catalyst. So that's Dell, VKTX. I mean, I I try not to get too excited, but I mean it was great data, and it's doing what VKTX has done since it was in the single digits and had the big move up on its data back in March. It's just I don't know if it's the shorts who don't think there's going to be a M&A any M&A, so which gives them time to pressure the stock and make some money. I don't know if there's some other data. So AstraZeneca also presented had a poster at Obesity Week. I think they had a virtual event at 10 a.m. and then reports were out that so they had acquired a China company who has a early stage GLP-1. I don't even know if it's a phase study or if it's in China, but uh, it was a 19-person cohort with weird milligrams, and supposedly there wasn't many adverse effects. It's an oral solution. I don't know if that's some of the reason why VKTX is down here, and I think VKTX had another poster too on their other GLP-1. I'm trying to see the exact catalyst. I mean, to me, it's oh, actually, AstraZeneca, they had a 5.8% weight loss. I don't, it wasn't included, it was 28 days and it wasn't versus the placebo. So if you take out the placebo on VKTX's oral at their 100 milligram dosage, uh, it was 8.2. So that's substantial. 8.2% weight loss in 28 days. I mean, 35% better. But I don't know if that's some of the reason it's selling off. Frustrating. I'm just going to sit on my hands. I mean, it looked great. It was 760, 65 held into noon. Then it was at 67.50 for most of the afternoon until just now. It's pulling back. I mean, pretty remarkable to see it trading. It looks like it might have some follow through tomorrow. So I'm just going to stay away for now. But I still have my November 15th, which obviously going to need some M&A for those to come back to life. That's that. That's VKTX. Corbis had a poster for Obesity Week, and the story on Corbis. I had some November strikes. I was able to lock some in, and then I had the higher strikes that I added. Those didn't do so well. But it had that big sell off after, was it Merck? I forget who had uh, the CB1 data. Maybe it was Pfizer. But big sell off, and Corbis has different pipelines and not all tied to weight loss. I mean, and their CB1 weight loss drug it's not even phase one yet. It's clinical. So their poster is about mice and rats or something like that, showing like 35% weight loss in mice. So you see it running up this morning. I was watching, and then I see the call volume, and I didn't even want to look right now. It was 4,000. It's like 4,200 calls before. Uh, with 41 puts. Now it's 4,900 calls traded today versus 56 puts. And I started looking at the action, and most of it, not spreads, they all look like they're on the ask. So people are hitting December 30s. They were hitting those are at 40 cents. Yeah, lots on the December 30s, November 25s. I mean, that's the ones I added. December 22 50s. I don't know. And, it has a 24% short interest somewhere in there. So I don't know if some of that's a function of the short interest, but like this name, I think it was oversold on, uh, you know, I don't know how you want to put it, but like wrong concerns, right? The stock was up in the 50s, 60s, not because of its CB1 drug, but because of its oncology solution. So looks like it's going in the right direction. If it finds some support and start to go, it could squeeze. And then you start looking at levels 22, 23. I think that's what it hit back in September. Break over that, I think it's good to go. So that's why I added some speculative calls there. On Corbis, GPCR, I'm pretty sure they have a presentation. I don't know if it's 2:30 now or is it 3:30, or maybe I'm getting my time zones messed up, right? Let me just see if so they have two posters coming out, and they should be out this afternoon. One of those under the radar names for the Obesity Week. Nobody's really talking about them. I think the chart's setting up nice already. You look at the 50-day moving average, 39.61. The 200-day moving average, 40.28. We're right there. So I think that one takes off. With or without that, I mean, the data, if it has some kind of surprise, it could certainly be in the 50s tomorrow. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. So win reports after the close today, just disappointing recently. When I say disappointing, when I try and get some of these trades at the earnings, I'm hoping for premium build. You look at win, I thought 107.50 or so into earnings. It's done nothing, especially with the China market kind of languishing after that big pop. Uh, I think it's going to post a great quarter. So if they do, we'll trade into the hundreds. I have 115, so I'm going to need a big move on that, and then I'll revisit tomorrow morning. Macau's the big thing with Win, right? So they got to have a nice strong beat in Macau, and I don't know how much is really getting taken from like the online stuff, the DraftKings and things like that. So Haven't really looked at those numbers, but I guess we'll find out after the close. Weight Watchers, well, WW, right? So it's running today. I don't know if it's some of it on all this GLP-1 stuff and obesity week, but it's up, 120. They report earnings Wednesday morning. Um, be interesting for them to give an update on the compounded solution stuff that they're going to be able to offer or are offering, how long they expect it to last, what kind of boost they're getting. Certainly a name that I think could take off at some point. So that's it, folks. We've got 20 minutes to close. I'll be back on later. Have a great afternoon. Rock and roll.